AB-620, Generative Answers and Custom Prompts in Copilot Studio. The exam trap is treating every AI-powered response as the same feature. It is not. In a real topic, 4 different mechanisms can look similar from the outside. A Generative Answers node retrieves and synthesizes grounded content. Custom instructions shape how that grounded answer is written. A custom prompt performs a specific AI task on input the topic already has. And tools, HTTP nodes or agent flows, perform external work. Keep that console in your head. Knowledge grounds, instructions shape, prompts perform, and topics decide when each one runs. Start with the topic path. In our Woodgrove advisor scenario, the topic has already recognized the user intent and confirmed that the customer is in the premium client tier. That matters because the Generative Answers node is not just a generic fallback sitting somewhere in the agent. You place it at the point in the authored conversation where retrieval should happen. The topic captures facts, runs a condition, and then opens the retrieval lens. The answer that comes back belongs to that specific path, with the variables and source choices that the maker intentionally put there. The source scope is part of the design. If a Generative Answers node has sources configured directly on the node, those node-level sources take priority for that node. Broader agent-level sources are not a free backup that always blend into the answer. Think of the node source shelf dropping in front of the larger library. The node searches the scoped shelf first, because that is the maker's boundary for this moment in the conversation. If there is no relevant content, the right design is a no-answer path, a fallback message, or escalation. Do not quietly widen the answer unless the scenario explicitly allows it. Now choose the retrieval lane. Stable enterprise content might come from SharePoint or uploaded documents. Public web retrieval might use Bing options when that is allowed. A specialized corpus might use Azure OpenAI on your data, or a vector-style source. Live proprietary results might enter through custom data. The point is not to memorize a list of source names. The point is to ask who owns the content, how fresh it must be, and whether the topic needs a live prepared result. AB-620 scenarios often give you those clues in the business constraint, not in the product name. Custom data is the detail learners often underplay. It is not a random JSON blob handed to the AI. It must become a PowerFX table. The required column is content. Content location is optional, but useful for a citation or source link. Title is optional, but useful for a readable label. And the exam important limit is that only the first 3 records are used. So if an API returns 25 matches, the maker must rank, filter, and reshape the data before the handoff. The Generative Answers node receives a 3-slot evidence packet, not the whole raw response. There are 2 common ways to prepare that evidence packet. If the job is simple, use an HTTP request and a set variable step. One call returns data, and a PowerFX expression reshapes it into the table that the Generative Answers node expects. If the job needs pagination, aggregation, multiple connectors, approval logic, or business rules, a Power Automate flow is usually the better preparation path. Notice that both paths have the same goal. They do not replace Generative Answers. They prepare the evidence so the grounded answer has the right data at the right moment. Custom instructions do a different job. They are a formatting and safety stamp on one Generative Answers node. They can shape tone, format, and scope. In the Woodgrove scenario, instructions might require formal language, bullet points when the answer has multiple steps, and no speculation beyond the provided sources. That is very different from changing what the node searches. The sources decide what evidence is available. The instructions decide how the answer should behave when it uses that evidence. If the scenario says tone, format, scope, or response style, think custom instructions. The best instructions are observable. A vague instruction like, be helpful and professional, sounds reasonable, but it is hard to test. Helpful compared with what? Professional in which format? A stronger instruction names the visible behavior. Use bullet points when the answer has more than one item. State that information is not available when the configured sources do not contain it. Do not make recommendations outside the retrieved content. Those instructions can be tested in Test Your Agent. For AB-620, that difference matters. Vague persona wording is not the same as a reliable response rule. A custom prompt is different again. It is a task engine, not a search engine. The topic supplies input, such as a contract clause, a customer note, or a support summary. The prompt performs a defined AI task on that input. Classify it, extract fields, summarize it, evaluate it, or produce a structured result. In our scenario, a clause enters the prompt engine and comes out as standard, non-standard, or flagged, with a short rationale. The prompt is not retrieving the product catalog. It is reasoning over the supplied input and returning an output the topic can use. Model choice is part of prompt design, but do not treat it as a simple best model ladder. A mini model can be a good fit for fast, moderate tasks. A general model can fit more complex or multimodal work. A deeper reasoning model may be appropriate when the prompt needs harder judgment. Microsoft Foundry model connections can expand the available model choices, but they also bring cost, latency, and governance considerations, such as data loss prevention. So the question is not which model sounds most powerful. The question is, which model fits the task boundary and the organization's rules? The prompt output has to route the conversation. First, map a topic variable into the prompt input. For the contract example, that could be the clause text captured earlier in the topic. Next, store the prompt output in another topic variable, such as a classification result and rationale. Then use a condition node to branch. A standard clause might continue automatically. A non-standard clause might queue a review step. A flagged clause might escalate to a human. This is why prompts connect back to topic design. The useful result is not just text. It is a value the topic can act on. Here is the AB-620 transfer rule. If the scenario says the agent needs a grounded answer from configured sources, think Generative Answers. If it says tone, format, scope, or how the answer should be worded, think custom instructions. If it says classify, extract, summarize, evaluate, or transform supplied input, think custom prompt. If it says update a record, submit a request, call an API, create an item, or run a multi-step process, think tool, HTTP node, or agent flow. The exam is not asking which feature sounds most AI-powered. It is asking which mechanism matches the job.